Hello, my little fluffers. Welcome once more to the Patreon, where I sit you on my knee and tell you tales of long ago. Oh yes, let it snow, let it snow. I've run out of words that rhyme with O. But I am Adam, and I'm not alone tonight, because I have got a man whose name does not end in O. It's Andy.
What if I was called Andy-O?
Then you'd be a 1950s beatnik, and you'd be walking around going... when people did poetry.
I'd rather be a 1950s badnik than be a tiny little ladybug with a big wheel in my tummy.
If you're a 1950s badnik, you'd be like a diesel-driven badnik. Actually, this is a really good idea.
I'm saying you're not unselling me on this.
Diesel-driven, slightly steampunky, slightly diesel-punky. I actually quite like the sound of this.
We're getting on board for a good idea, I think.
Yeah. Less Japanese and more grilled.
Yeah.
It looks like an original Rolls Royce. But
see, I can't help
but
but thinking of the ladybird, but then with a few pipes coming out the top of it, and then with a bowler hat and a monocle.
What ho, sir? I am the Beetlebug, and I'm here to get you. Come here, hedgehog.
Is that what it was called? The Beetlebug?
One of them was called the Beetlebug. The one from Green Hill Zone was the Motobug.
Do you think any of the animals complained about the robot not being associated with their animals? So like a crab could have like a squirrel in it. And it's like, no, I don't want, if you're going to put me in something, I want to be a chameleon, because at least that's closer to the kind of animal I am. It also has a tail.
Listen, you little monster, you'll go where I put you, for I, Dr. Robotnik, will stuff any animal into anything.
Oh God.
Wait, I think I misspoke. I'll just kidnap any living creature and stick it into any hole I can find. No, that's wrong as well. But yeah, Dr. Robotnik's found himself on a list. Oh.
One of many lists, I imagine.
Operation U-Tree, I hate that hedgehog! That's why he had to change his name to Eggman.
Oh no! To get around the law.
Yes.
Oh no.
There was a warrant out for Dr. Ivor Robotnik, so he became Dr. Eggman and got away scot-free.
Is that why his first name was Dr. Kinterbore? It's happened multiple times. Oh no.
Oh no. This is awful.
A consecutive offender.
Normally,
he looks the type.
Normally I have to tell you that I'm a registered sex offender. But in this case, Dr. Eggman is unregistered.
That would have made the 90s cartoon really awkward, like him phoning up the forest. I mean, I know I've taken your city and your loved ones and turned them into robots, but I have to tell you, I am actually a sex offender as well.
I'm just thinking of the end of Sonic Says. That's no good.
You'd be right, it is no good.
You are correct, I just can't help myself.
Oh no.
This has got a very dark place, Andy.
It's not my fault.
Wow.
I'm a good boy.
Wow, what have you done?
I don't know. I didn't do nothing.
This started off so nicely. Yeah, I was doing a little rhyme and everything, and now we're there. Yes. Yeah, and now we're to Operation U-Tree jokes. That's
the kind of high class humor you get when you come and talk to Andy.
That's not just a whiplash turn. We have just like changed direction, speed, and dimension. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's where we've turned towards. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. What are we here for today, though, Mr. Gruff?
Apparently to get ourselves into a lot of legal trouble from Dr. Eggman's lawyers.
Oh, no.
Yes, this Grimer turns up. I would like you to know that Dr. Robotnik has never, ever been investigated by Operation U-Tree.
To our knowledge.
To our... What? No! Sniffly, you American version of me. Yeah, that's a bit of a deep cut. Moving on. Quickly. So, I'm Adam. This is Andy. We have nothing to do with Sonic the Hedgehog or Operation U-Tree. And we are going to talk to you tonight about some Felix and Gotrek. namely the first book in the Felix and Gotrek series. Because me and Andy like to talk about these wonderful, wonderful things. Probably at some point we'll have to talk about a 40k novel. But at the moment, I really want to talk about Gotrek.
See, here's the problem. Everybody talks about 40k.
Yeah.
I don't think we should. Because everybody else talks about it. Like, you go online, you find a myriad of people all talking about how good 40k is. And they're not wrong. Mm-hmm. They're not wrong at all. But, and I don't think nearly enough people talk about the good stuff of either fantasy, or AOS to a greater extent.
So, this answers a question that we were talking about before the show. We should call this Fantasy Reads. Yeah, actually, I agree with you. You get a lot of people talking about 40k and whatnot, but you don't really get a lot of people talking about the AOS books. And some of those AOS books are fantastic. Some of them are pretty dire. And it's a shame that there's not more of them available on things like Audible. I mean...
I have a quick question for you then, because you said there have been some pretty dire AOS books. People obviously know you've been doing the Horus Heresy series.
Yeah.
Now, the worst of the Horus Heresy series, how does that compare to the worst of the AOS stuff that you've read? Comparable? Is one worse than the other? Or is it because you're invested more in the one than the other that they might feel worse, if you know what I mean?
Okay. I will say that I find there's a Stormcast book that's name I've completely forgotten, and it was boring. It was just very, very dull.
Okay.
So dull, I forgot what it was called. However, Mechanicum is the worst book I've ever read in my life.
Because worse than Battle for the Abyss?
Well, Battle for the Abyss has a narrative. It's a terrible narrative. It's an awful narrative, and it jumps all over the place. But it has a start, a middle, and an end. Right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which is a very simple thing to do. Mechanicum doesn't. Mechanicum starts because the book page is there and you begin reading, and then it meanders around for 300 pages until it runs out of pages.
Okay.
There is no character development. It's just nothing but concept. If it had been released as a side-along to a AdMech RPG game, it would have been better. Because you're getting the flavour of what the AdMech are, you're getting the ideas, you're getting stuff being name-dropped, you're getting these little throwaways to Old Earth, right? Yeah, that's great. But it's not a novel, it's not a story.
Right.
It angered me. I mean, and there is some really bad stuff in the Horus Heresy. I mean,
certainly, yeah.
There's some brilliant stuff. I mean, Betrayer is a story that I can't wait to go back to reread Betrayer. Which I won't do until I finish the Heresy stuff, which I'm taking a little bit of a break on now. But Betrayer was such a ride, and ended with one of my favourite moments in the Heresy so far, Erebus getting his shit pushed in, that I can't wait to get back to it.
You always wonder, and I hope this isn't ever the case, is Aaron Dembski-Bowden ever going to do a bad book? Because I don't think he is, and I hope he's not, because everything I've heard, because obviously I do audiobooks, I've heard of his is top quality, and I've never not enjoyed something he's done.
Absolutely. I think some stuff of his is better than others.
Certainly, yeah,
but
of course.
He's now, I mean, what's the 40k book with the, like the Ultramarine with the big Roman crests on the front?
I just say to Sicarius. And it's not him. It's not him.
No, I can't remember the name of it now.
Is it an audiobook? Because if it's not, I wouldn't know it.
It's definitely out as an audiobook. But whatever it was called, I went through it, and I really struggled with it. A lot of people said it's great, but I couldn't get away with it. I don't know what it was.
Was it Ultramarines? Is that why?
No, it was a new chapter. I'm just seeing if I can find it now. But of course, you're looking for a 40k audiobook written by Dembski-Bowden.
Yes.
Yeah, which in itself is a difficult thing to do. And it's not that it was badly written. I just could not get into the idea. Spear of the Emperor.
I haven't heard of that one.
So the story is, the scattered worlds of Erala's Veil Nebula were once protected by the Oath of Unity sworn by 3 mighty chapters of the Adeptes Astartes. The star scorpions were undone by flaws in their genetic coding. The celestial lions were ravaged by the Inquisition for sins they did not commit. Now, after hundreds of years, only the Emperor's spears keep their vigil. They are barbarian watchmen against the outer dark, bloodied but unbroken in their long duty. And I don't think it was written badly. It could just be that the narrator didn't do it for me. But I really struggled with it.
Yeah, me and you've talked before about sometimes if the narrator isn't what we perceive as good, it can really pull you out of a story.
Yeah.
And it always happens to my undead ones. Always. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, Drachenfels upset me. Drachenfels upset
that one too.
Because Abby, actually, my wife Abby, got it right when she tried listening to it with me as well, and she hated it.
Yeah.
And what it is that the person reading it is doing it so deadpan that you're not getting any of the bounce and the life and the weird out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a bit where one of the guys at the beginning of Drachenfels, his bones start to grow because he's not actually a dwarf. He's a spy who has been made to look like a dwarf. And yeah, he's like misshapen and he's like screaming and everything's all happening. But the narrator does everything and the bones begin to grow. And she tries to get over the grotesque of it, but not she tries to get over the horror of it, but not the grotesque.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's a lot of that, and that's why I struggled with it.
I think describing it as kind of a flat read.
Yeah.
I think you're quite right there.
Which was a shame, because Drachenfels, as anyone knows, is one of my favourite books of all time.
Yeah, I mean,
it's funny.
I haven't obviously finished Drachenfels, but I didn't really. I got bits of humour, but not massive amounts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think if you want good humour delivery, Jonathan Keeble, obviously the narrator for the Gotrek stuff and Felix stuff, he nails it. He does a really good job hitting the humour. There
is a bit in this book, in Trollslayer, which sent Abby into hysterics, and I had to stop the thing to let her calm down again. And it was don't drink that! That's acid!
Oh, yeah. I personally think Skaven Slayer is funnier than this one, but obviously we'll get to Skaven Slayer later.
Yeah.
In another episode, I'm sure.
We will. Have you finished Skaven Slayer yet?
No, I haven't.
No.
I'm up to the Cauldron of 1,000 Plagues.
Yeah, the Cauldron of 1,000 Poxes. Yeah.
Yeah, and Felix has gone to a doctor, and the doctor's been showing him the books of it's not the Liber Mortis, but I think the famous guy who studied chaos. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm up to there.
I have to ask. I won't ask about Dr. Drexler because we all know that Dr. Drexler is amazing. Mm-hmm. Dr. Drexler is played by MacGyver in my mind.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll understand why down the line.
Right.
It doesn't do anything massive. He just, every time he turns up, he's just ace. But what do you feel about Vilebruff Null?
Vilebruff Null?
The pestilence monk who has...
he hasn't actually had a role yet in the story.
Oh, has he not?
No. They've only been talking, the most you've got is Thankful talking about him, saying he's doing something with the plagues, and the plagues shouldn't be unleashed unless the Council of 13 give them permission, because they did that last time and it killed a lot of Skaven. Whoops.
But yeah, I won't ask too many questions about Skaven Slayer. I'll wait till we get into that book. But I freaking adore Skaven Slayer. And it's nothing on what comes next.
Oh, okay.
See, this is the weird thing. I'm sure we talked about this when we did the Gotrek overview last year. Trollslayer is a collection of books that were a collection of short stories, I should say, that were written between sort of 1987 and 1990. And as a result, it was quite a quick write. So you had Trollslayer and Skaven Slayer were released on the same day.
Oh, you mean back in the day, the two books came out at the same time?
Yeah, in 1997.
Right.
I think it was that they came out. 99. They both came out in 99 as these versions. A really cool thing is actually, Gehemish Night?
Yes.
Right, that was a one-off story. That was the first Gotrek story, right? And Gotrek was meant to die at the end. halfway through the story, King just went, I really like this character, and so revised it. Imagine that. Imagine if he died at the end, we would not be having this conversation.
That's mad.
Yeah. So he got commissioned to do another Gotrek story by Games Workshop, which was Wolf Riders, and then the third one was Dark Beneath the World. Then he was done to do full-length novel, which was going to be three books he was meant to do. So he started writing them, wrote the Mark of Slaanesh, Blood and Darkness, and Skaven's Claw. But then Games Workshop books fell apart. So what they did was they got those stories and they put them into a couple of different anthology books. Skaven's Claw was actually published over 2 parts in White Dwarf, which was the first and second issues of White Dwarf I ever bought myself. So that's where it all kind of comes from. As I say, Games Workshop books dropped. So Mutant Master and Ulrich's Children got published in Inferno magazine and then added to Trollslayer when they opened up Black Library.
I'm surprised that Games Workshop had a book publisher before they made Black Library. Like you said, they had their own, what was it called? Games Workshop Books?
Games Workshop Books. So Games Workshop Books was a part of Box Tree. If you remember Box Tree books at all.
I don't know.
Yeah, not surprising. They did a lot of like Marks and Spencer's annuals. So, you had like, I'm trying to think of something that was popular in the 70s. Roundabout. So you'd have a roundabout that was only available, a roundabout annual that was only available at Marks and Spencer's.
Right.
They were done by Box Tree. Box Tree did loads of different weird things. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of just blow through the short stories in Trollslayer. Has that heater become louder to you?
Maybe a little. Not massively, but maybe a little.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the short stories. We're going to have a discussion about them and the characters and what they get up to and how we felt about it. But before we do that, just in case people haven't heard this stuff before, why and where did you come into the stories of Gotrek, Mr. Andy?
Why?
Yes.
You. Come on now. I think I came across Gotrek first because you said I needed to check out Realmslayer.
Yeah.
The audio drama on AOS, because I must have had Audible at that point, and I was like, what do I spend it on? And I'd heard you talk about this for a while, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a go, because there was so few AOS stuff. I was like, it's AOS, I'll give it a shot. Really liked it, and I went, okay, can I get any of the other Gotrex and Felix stuff? Yes, but also not really.
Yeah.
Is how it goes.
Yeah, because the only stuff they had at that point was the last 3 books.
Yeah.
And I'm not entirely sure if they're ever going to release the audio drama that they did. Because they did a full-blown audio drama. It's like Lair of the Serpent God or something like that it's called.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's available on the Black Library website.
Right.
But I've never seen it turn up on Audible, which I find really odd.
Huh. Because the only ones I ever saw that were on up for these guys beforehand was Slayer of the Storm God. That one's there.
Yeah.
Is that the one you're talking about?
It's one of the ones I'm talking about,
Curse of the Living. Sorry, the Ever Living. Kinslayer and Slayer. Those were the ones that were up before. We kind of went back and started with Trollslayer here.
Yeah. Which is, it's so annoying because it means that the end of it's right there. And you don't want the end, you want to have the entire goddamn journey. No,
it makes me wonder, like, what are they gonna redo these, republish these, or get Jonathan Keeble to do them? I guess probably not, because that wouldn't... Oh no, Jonathan Keeble did them anyway.
Yeah, he did.
I didn't know that.
He did, yeah. So, they don't really
probably
need to redo them.
They're probably just gonna do it, yeah.
Just leave them there, yeah.
It's weird because it says Slayer and then it says Book 2 of Doom of Gotrek Gurnisson, so I guess it's a trilogy? Or 2 books? It's weird, it doesn't say what Kinslayer is though, that's annoying.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
This is obviously on the Black Library website that I'm looking at, if you're wondering, people at home.
That's really odd.
Yeah.
Because Kinslayer doesn't really slot into the beginning of Slayer. I mean, it does in like an over-narrative arc, but going from one to the other like a trilogy, it doesn't really
Yeah, because it doesn't even say Kinslayer is part of that trilogy. It doesn't say, like, this is book 1, 2, or 3. But it does say for Slayer that it's book 2. So as a consumer, if I was looking on the site, I'd be like, well, what's book 1?
Well, that can't be book 2 of a trilogy, because that's the last Gotrek book.
Yeah.
What?
Like I say, it doesn't specifically say part of a trilogy.
No,
it doesn't say that, but it does say first line underneath Slayer, book 2 of Doom of Gotrek Gurnison. But there's no book 1 as far as I could see. No, not written in any of the descriptions, at least.
That's really bizarre.
That is odd. That might just be a website faux pas, I'm guessing then.
Yeah. That's...
Ah, well.
I am fascinated why that's the case. Yes, Slayer. Gotrek and Felix, book 2 of the Doom of Gotrek.
It's weird, right?
What?
Yeah.
I will chop all this out. I just want to try and get an answer for why it's like that, because that's so odd.
Yeah, because doing that makes you think that there should be a specific description that says book 1 of the destruction of Gotrek Gurnison, and you look and it's like, well, where is that? Because there's only like 4 books or 5 books now that you can get.
Book 16.
That would be like for the silver tier saying this is book 2, and it's like, well, okay, great, I want book 1 though.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not as important, but similar idea.
That is so goddamn
weird, right?
strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't get my head around that one.
Someone did a fuck up when they were doing the the write up.
Because that's book 17. That's the 17th book, and book 16 doesn't have part 1 of the Doom of Gotrek. It's like this weird afterthought. Yeah, that is really odd.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted that cleared up myself because I thought at least you might understand.
No, I haven't got a damn
it.
clue. Yeah.
Okay. Whoops.
The other one, of course, is Road of Skulls, which I'm hoping that they're going to do. Because Road of Skulls, if memory serves me right, is Felix and Gotrek going to Mordheim.
Oh, cool.
Which
is that one of the later books or the last books?
It's in the it's after Giant Slayer, I think.
Right. So well, it's going to be a long time then, I guess, before we get that.
Oh yeah, we're a long way off of getting the next one.
My hope is that we get at least one. Mm-hmm. At least one. I definitely want more than one, but at least one Gotrek and Felix books per year. Audiobook.
Yeah, I would love that. Because if they can get a Gotrek and Felix book out at the beginning of the year, and then another AOS Gotrek audio drama out towards the end of the year, that's a really nice run. You're getting plenty of stuff there.
Yeah, I'd definitely be okay with that. Because the turnover between Trollslayer and Skavenslayer, audiobooks at least, again wasn't actually too far apart. They were quite close together for releases. Well, not close together, but...
About 4 months, 5 months, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, if they can get one out every 6 months, I'll be over the damn moon.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Because it would mean that I've got less than 6 months to wait until Demon Slayer, and I fucking adore Demon Slayer.
Ooh.
Have you ever wanted to have half a book set inside the Realm of Chaos?
Not actively, but I would be interested.
Yeah.
Because that would actually be really useful to have for context, a bit of context, for the current AOS stuff as well, because it would give Gotrek his backstory, essentially, and explain it, in a sense, if you know what I mean, because if it's set in the Realm of Chaos, then all that time that Gotrek is in the Realm of Chaos before he comes back in AOS, you can kind of guess and surmise a bit better from William King's point of view.
Demon Slayer has them in a Zeppelin travelling into the Realm of Chaos.
Zeppelin.
Explains where Gotrek's axe comes from.
Oh.
Which is the beginning of, like, the mysteries of Gotrek.
Oh, okay.
And has the wonderful experience of Lurk Snitchtongue hanging onto the Zeppelin. I'm not...
Oh, I know Lurk Snitchtongue.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the storm vermin, isn't he?
Yeah, the spy, the sneak.
Yeah. The small small storm vermin. Yeah. He's really cool. I like him.
He doesn't go away.
Hey, no, I'm actually surprised. That's good to hear.
He is in there for quite some books yet, and he gets to do some serious business. But at the end of Demon Slayer, Lurk is doing some really deep, like, great stuff. When you get into Dragonslayer, he's doing even better stuff. Lurk is amazing.
Sweet. Oh, that's good.
The thing is, what King did is he kept adding to the roster. So you had, by the end of Demon Slayer, you've got yourself a really big cast of characters. Like a massive cast. And they're all there to have their moment. Like Malachi Malekson is, I love him. I love him so much. He's like the best Slayer ever. Because he had to have the trousers ritual done to him, and he keeps just going off and building stuff, and it fails miserably.
I mean, that's how you write. Well, I would imagine, not being the writer myself, but that's how you do a good storytelling. You don't like photon drop a crap ton of characters in book one. You use your first book or first load of short stories to develop them, small cast, and then you build. Because that's what this is. The first. Well, in a sense, I suppose. Trollslayer has very small stories.
Yeah.
But they are just very small stories. I don't think they do a massive amount. They're just kind of fun, small skirmishes.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess
what they're kind of doing is they're introducing you to the world and to the characters and the relationship that these characters have with other people. Not so much the relationship they have with themselves, because they've got this weird alien relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that keeps coming back, is that no matter how close they seem to get, there's always this divide between them. There's this bridge that can't be crossed because of they're so different.
Yeah, the mindsets of how they perceive the world, which is always interesting to hear.
So, shall we get into the short stories then and talk about them?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So, we begin then with the first ever Gotrek story, which is Gehemshnat, the Night of Secrets. If we find the adventure shortly after meeting for the first time, after they have left Altdorf together, they kicked off the coach they're riding because of Gottrek's comments towards the coach driver, and especially the coach driver's wife. As they continue to travel on foot, they nearly run down by a secondary coach, a black coach, and Gottrek vows it. Sorry, I can't speak. And Gottrek vows to find it in order to hurt the driver. They reach the Standing Stones Inn and are able to make their way through the barred door to learn of how on Gnemesh night a coven who is based in the Darkstone Ring steal children and other people for sacrifices. They learn that the son of the innkeeper, Gunther, and his wife have both disappeared, so they vow to find the coven and destroy them to save Gunther and his wife. After finding the path to the ring, they come across a rotting cultist who chants gibberish before being felled. They finally come across the ring and discover that the leader of the coven is the driver of the black coach. Gotrek gets his chance to hurt the driver. They listen for a while and learn that it is dedicated to Slanesh, the Lord of Pleasure. They attack, destroying the coven, as they intended to sacrifice a stolen baby, and in the aftermath discover that Gunther and his wife were both cultists. Both very dead cultists. They rescue the baby and move on. This story later on gets alluded to by Felix as it was his first true glimpse at chaos. So what did you think of the story?
I'll tell you a thing that disappointed me. They mentioned the black coach, and I was like,
yeah.
Undead? No. I was like, undead.
It was written in 1988. It actually predates the undead black coach.
The black coach is pretty old, though, right?
I don't think it's that old.
It's not that old,
I'm
really?
Sure, okay. That's a vampire counts.
Wow.
Black Coach Warhammer first model. I'm sure that came out. Vampire counts. So that's the 3rd edition Warhammer, 4th edition. Sorry.
Okay. Right, so this predates that. So yeah, this is my future bias, I suppose. Like looking back and go, and then go, oh. That was my disappointment, I suppose you could say. It's a fairly simple story.
Yeah.
It's the level 1 of a video game.
Pretty much, actually. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And it was okay. You know, it's not terrible. But it's entertaining enough. You get the idea of the characters well enough. Mm-hmm. The plight of Felix and the life of Gottrix being Gottrick as he is very Gottrick. I remember enjoying them go. Well, they did go to the bar, didn't they? And there's like 3 people in, and they had to unbar the door. And Gotrek was very, very loud.
You got the amazing line of "Why is the hag weeping?"
That's right. Oh, I really like that. It's like Gotrek, come on now.
It's got just a wonderful black sense of humour to it. I mean, there's loads of these weird little lines that Gotrek has in this first story. Because when he talks about how far people are away from the war, your people are too soft. Do you remember that bit?
Vaguely. Is that referencing to his people constantly fighting Skaven?
Yeah, well, Skaven and chaos in general.
Yeah,
he says, witch hunts, and sometimes people keep their mutant children secret, and he just goes, too soft. And then the next thing he pretty much does is just go into a murderous rage and murder everybody around him. Do you remember the bit where the rotting cultist comes along?
No, but I was thinking as you were talking about that before, maybe he was like, oh, don't go over there, they're cultists, and then he was beheaded, which would have been a bit of a sad time for him.
No, it's the one that's doing the we dance and touch and rub. It's a character that I've always kind of, in my head, I've always heard it as being, we dance and touch and rub. And then when I was listening to it with Abby, she got really creeped out by it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
What creeped her out about it specifically?
The way it was like shuffling towards them and doing that we dance and touch and rub.
Oh, okay.
And it really freaked her out. Which is weird because I've always kind of seen it as being more jovial than that.
Yeah, it's with a kind of Slaneshi kind of worshipper, it could be either.
Yeah.
It could easily be either. Or both combined, which would be maybe worse.
Mm-hmm. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be horrible. So the first story, it's a really simple story. It's got the payoff of Gunter and his wife were both cultists. We kind of saw that coming.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire thing of, I can't remember the name of his wife, I didn't write it down. But you got this entire thing of how she was kidnapped last year, and then she turned back up with all these whip marks and bruises on her. Mm-hmm. And he's like, sure she was kidnapped.
Yeah. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. So should we move on to Wolf Riders?
Yeah.
So, Wolf Riders. Felix starts the story in a tavern, protecting a girl from the attentions of 3 huge trappers, Hef, Kel, and Lars. He holds his own until Gotrek comes in and drives them out, in a manner of speaking. The girl introduces herself as Kristin, and explains how her family is part of the Von Deal migration, a cursed noble family and their servants and their families moving to the borderlands. Gotrek and Felix were on their way to the dwarven stronghold of Carrick 8 Peaks because they'd heard tales of treasure. They decided to join the Von Deals as they're heading in the same direction, and they could use the cover afforded by the Coats. After travelling through the Grey Mountains and reaching the Border Princes, Felix falls deeply in love with Kirstin, and she likewise. Whilst camped in the Cursed Hills, not a Cursed Hills. You don't just get a Cursed Hill. It's the...
Oh, you might. Well, you do if you're playing the board game and you deem it as such.
Oh, alright. This hill is cursed.
5 points.
Whilst camped in the taller of the Cursed Hills, the camp is attacked by undead warriors. During the fight, Felix kills the trapper Lars after going crazy and attacks him. The men drive off the undead and they set off to find the ruined fort, which Gotrek helps repair, hinting at his pre-Slayer background as an engineer. Finally, the fort is attacked by the Wolf Riders, led by a gibbering goblin shaman, and during the first siege, Gottfred, the leader of the Von Deals, is struck by an arrow and carried off by his son, Dieter. His nephew, Manfred, and Frau Winter, the sorceress, take him to be healed. After a day of no word from them, and the second siege begins, Felix goes off to investigate, leaving Gotrek and the remaining men to fight off the horde, ready to break through the gates. Felix comes across Frau Winter and Kirstin, the former dead, the latter dying, and Felix watches her die, swearing to avenge her. He then comes across Dieter, whose head has been completely bashed in, and enters Gottfried's room to see him stabbed to death in his bed with Manfred, sitting there, wiping the blood off his blade, giggling. He then explains that the curse of the Von Deals is mutation brought on by a heretic cursing Manfred's grandfather, Manfred, who is now going completely stark raving mad, explains he broke the curse by killing all of the Von Deals. He and Felix duel. Felix kills him, telling him that the curse is now broken. He goes outside to see Gotrek standing on a pile of dead goblins, wolves, and humans, which includes Hef and Kel, and single-handedly holding the gate, killing the shaman, possibly eating him, and losing his eye in the process. The surviving humans are taken in by one of the many border princes, whilst Gotrek and Felix leave whilst Gotrek and Felix leave to enter the dark beneath the world. What did you think of Wolf Riders?
Surprisingly, very little to do with the Wolf Riders.
Yeah, the Wolf Riders are just there at the end, and they don't actually really fit into the story.
No, and surprisingly enough, one is able to wound Gotrek enough for him to lose his eye.
Yeah.
His iconic lost eye. Especially with what he fights later on in the stories and stuff like that. You go, really? Goblin took your eye?
You can tell the late 80s feel here, can't you? More than anything else.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, the goblins are much more barbaric, much more a travelling tribal problem rather than the sort of midnight stranglers that they became in later editions.
Yeah, they're much more standard, I suppose, goblin.
Yeah. It's one of the interesting things about this story is that even though the goblins are in the background, they are still fairly removed from what goblins ended up being. Especially now in AOS, with the madcap little monsters.
Yeah, on the shrooms.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Yeah,
they're a lot more of a cutting evil than they are just a bizarre, giggling horde of madness.
They almost seem like a bit of a proto-Beastman-y kind of idea.
Yeah.
But them being Wolf Riders as well, and remembering how they were designed as kind of they had the Mongolian-esque kind of design to them. It still kind of fit. Mm-hmm. It wasn't so old of a concept for what goblins were that it pulled me out of the story. It was just more of a the goblins are a bit different now. But I could still believe that this is how they would, or at least some small packs might still act. Tribes. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I could see this being they could put the word hob in front of goblin, and I think the story would work a little bit more better. A little bit more better. That's not English. A little bit more. It would flow a bit better.
Did hobgoblins exist in Warhammer at that point?
Yes.
Because they're kind of extinct now.
Yeah, they kind of did. So when they brought the hobgoblins back for the Chaos Dwarfs, they actually brought back a old idea from 2nd edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle. 2nd and 3rd. Yeah, 2nd and 3rd. Where they were just another greenskin. They weren't part of the Chaos Dwarf army or anything like that. They were just another... they were the halfway point between Goblin and Orc.
Oh, okay.
So, which is always a strange one in my eyes, but you've got to remember.
Is it because of the procreation between Orc and Goblin?
I don't think they've ever said that. I think they've always just said that. I mean, 2nd edition of Warhammer had half Orcs, for God's sake. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it still kind of was following the D&D.
What were the half Orcs, half with humans?
Usually, yes.
Weird. I can't really imagine Grimgor going, I love you, love. Come here. Give us a snog.
No Grimgor, None of that.
Yes, no, that was probably super pre-Grimgor.
Massively so. The orcs at that point still looked a bit more piggy than they do now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I hate pig orcs.
Yeah, I think they evolved into something. I think kind of mushing them closer to the goblin look and then just kind of thickening them up was a better idea.
Absolutely. Giving them just that big jaw and everything.
Yeah. Totally.
And then Warcraft nicked it.
But then, took away the coolness of the orc because they made them intelligent. It's like, no, orcs are stupid. They're fun.
I liked it when they made, when Blizzard made... I'm talking true Blizzard, not the corpse of Blizzard that stumbles around now. Yes. When they made him noble, but still a little bit feral.
Yeah, you mean Warcraft 3.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
I agree, yeah.
It's when they made them into full-blown people, then it's why? What's the point here? You might as well just have more people.
Yeah, that's why I'm not a big fan of WoW.
No.
One of many reasons I'm not a big fan of WoW.
Do you like money? Tough.
No.
Tough. Here, buy things that don't exist.
You know what was a real disappointment? The Warhammer Online wasn't better.
True, but the Warhammer Return of Reckoning is actually really good.
Is it?
Yeah. So, have you heard of Return of Reckoning?
No, actually, no.
So what it is that some people have taken the Age of Reckoning MMO and they've basically updated it and they've made it a fan game with their own servers and everything. It's free to download. I've had a good couple of hours on it actually. I've really enjoyed my time with it. Played about 7 hours as an orc and about 3 hours as a dwarf.
Right.
And yeah, I've enjoyed my time with it. I mean, it's an MMO, so there's only so much you can do with it.
Yeah.
But having this sort of more updated, more narrative-driven version of an MMO, it works. I like it. It's one I'd recommend people to try. But remember, it's an MMO.
And it's an old one, too.
Yeah, but as I said, they've done a decent update on it. They've brought it up to date really nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just the old game, but I don't know, retextured or anything like that. They've actually updated the systems within it in order to bring it up into more in line with, I think 2018 is when it came out. So, yes.
Oh, right, okay. I still think we need a proper adventure game set in at least, if not fantasy, AOS.
Absolutely.
Proper one.
Yeah,
but there you go.
What I would like to see is something akin to Darkstalkers. You know,
the video game?
Yeah. So
you mean the fighting game from Capcom?
Oh, not Darkstalkers.
You mean Darksiders?
Darksiders, thank you.
I was like, with the werewolf and the vampire and the fishman?
Actually, no, you've sold me on this. Yeah, a one-on-one fighting game, but set in AOS.
No, I don't think you want a fighting game for Warhammer.
No. But no, or like God of War, something like that, where it's, you'd probably end up playing as, in fact, no, actually, Gotrek. There you go, you have it as Gotrek and you play God of War.
Yeah, it's easy because you go, why is he overpowered? And you go, it's Gotrek. And you go, oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah. That's how he's always been written, so it works.
And it's the his search for Felix. There you go, story.
Oh, yeah, story done. There's the narrative. Yeah.
And he just keeps coming across different characters that join him as a AI-controlled character or a player too.
Mm-hmm. So well, you could use the concept of the newest God of War game where you used a button that would slightly control his boy.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do that for like whoever was his friend of the time.
Yeah. And you can unlock other characters as you go along to have them as his companion.
Yeah, or they'd have different effects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Oh.
It won't happen though.
And of course, Thanquol is the big bad.
Yeah. At least he's hinted at as the big bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he always sets up someone else for you to beat up, of course.
Oh, that'd be so good if, like, FMVs are just Thanquol just running around in the background setting up traps and, like, sending trolls out, like, shock prodding him, like, trolls to go after Gotrek. And, like, the troll's the boss. And there's never a point where Gotrek and Thanquol meet.
No, yeah, that'd be great.
It's just like Thanquol thinking that, Gotrek thinks there's, like, a necromancer trying to get him or something. And this necromancer thinks that Gotrek's coming after him, and Thanquol's just in the background giggling to himself.
I'd be okay. Yeah, this works.
Right, so we want to see this game published by the end of this year, and we want to have it have a 3-year development cycle, so it's good.
Yes, totally.
So you've already started this, haven't you?
Person listening to the Patreon who works on video games.
Yeah, so Ross, who is a gamer, started making this game because I've told him to 3 years ago.
Ah, cool. Sweet. Should be nearly done then if you told him 3 years ago.
Yeah, I'll just get him a time machine.
Cool.
So, Wolf Riders.
Wolf Riders.
What did you think about the relationship between Felix and Kirsten?
It's the first of, oh no, Felix has a love interest.
Yes! Yes, it is.
Oh, no.
Felix is a goddamn player.
He is, but they don't last long.
No.
No.
Oh, just wait till he gets married.
No. Oh, yeah, I forgot that's meant to happen at some point, isn't it?
Yeah, he gets married, and oh god, that's heartbreaking.
Does Gotrek call his wife a wench?
No.
Or a hag?
No.
Who's the hag, Felix? The wife.
Gotrek's got a lot of time for Kat.
Oh, that's good.
For little one, as he calls her.
Yeah.
We'll get to that one down the line. But yeah, this sets up Gotrek's, not Gotrek, Jesus, that'd be horrible. This sets up Felix a player. Because he does fall in love very, very easily.
I suppose in the era that it's set, which is meant to be like medieval times, you kind of have to, because your life, especially in the world of Warhammer, I can't imagine your life expectancy was probably even lower than the life expectancy of real world medieval times.
Yeah, I think you're probably quite right there, unless you were living in like Altdorf in the palace.
Yeah, unless you're a rich person, you're probably not long for the world.
Interesting thing, actually. You know the Egyptian pharaohs?
Not personally, but yes.
Well, I won't tell you if you don't know them personally. I was going to ask you to pass a message on. Fuck you then, Andy. No, so in ancient Egypt, the average lifespan was about 30 years, right?
Oh, for Pharaoh or for
the normal people, just here.
That's not terrible.
However, I want to say his name's Ramen Tut, but that's not right. Bollocks. One of the first pharaohs that's been recorded. His name's gone completely out of my head. But basically, he lived to 90.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So
wasn't Ozymandias, was it?
No, it was one of the Tuts.
The Tuts.
I can't remember. But anyhow, so the historians...
90 is really good.
Historians think that that's where the idea of the eternal pharaoh comes from. That this guy lasted for so long. He just kept going. Because we're talking like really quite early on in sort of the Egyptian pharaoh's society.
It's hard to believe that in that era that someone would be, not to say it didn't happen, but because of the medical technology not being there to help someone who was that old.
Yeah, I mean
that is very impressive.
That is
if true.
Yeah. Oh, and it's going through like historical texts and stuff. So
sure.
When they say this thing, it might actually just be that he lived to 60. But the historians think that he lived all the way to 90.
Yeah, it's impressive if it did happen.
Yeah. I just thought that was really interesting, so I thought I threw it in.
If he sold his soul to, dark gods, he could have, lived forever.
To Horus.
Well, I was thinking more on Gash, but...
Well, yeah, him as well.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the actual Horus, not the heresy Horus.
That would be bizarre. That would be super weird. We're getting to Stargate technology if that was the case.
Well, the Horus of the Horus heresy didn't die. He just went back to ancient Egypt. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's where the Stargate movie starts.
Oh, making Stargate a 40k movie. Oh, yes! So Stargate and Event Horizon 40k canon. You heard it here first.
Do you remember how he looked at the end of Stargate?
Yeah.
Whoever what if he wasn't a ghoul at all, but he was in fact a Tau?
Oh, jeez.
Because he was blue. He did have a silly face.
Yeah.
What if he was a fish person?
A fish cow.
Fish cow. Yeah, there we go. We have sorted it. It's Stargate now, officially 40k movie.
Yep. He turned into a fish cow at the end. Or he did look a little bit like the Queen of the Elves in the first Lord of the Rings movie when he did that, because they did the same kind of part, which would probably make him an Eldar Farseer.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
One could say we're maybe stretching, but that's okay.
That's okay. Stretching is good before exercise.
Very true.
What else was I going to ask you about Wolf Riders? Oh, the Hefkel and Lars. What did you think of those three? If you remember the stuff that they did?
I remember specifically the bit of the start where they were a bit of rowdy lads, and I thought it was nice that we saw that Felix can handle himself even against guys who are much bigger than him.
Yeah.
I guess this turns up again because he becomes a bouncer, obviously, in Skaven Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of carries on over, but I don't remember a huge amount after them doing that. I remember them being knocked off by Manfred, though. I was disappointed Manfred wasn't my Manfred, though.
Yeah, I know that. I'm going to come to that in a second.
Yeah.
Lars gets killed when Lars goes crazy through fear when the undead attack. Felix kills him. Hef and Kel die fighting the goblins, and it's one of those wonderful Gotrek moments of Felix saying he's going to go and find out what's going on where everybody's at, and Hef says, "I'll come with you," and Gotrek just goes, "No, you'll stay here. You're going to stay here and fight. I trust him to come back. I don't trust you not to run away." It's that type of thing that makes Gotrek great. But the line of this one is during that bar fight at the beginning when Felix tries to pick up a table to hit one of the trappers with. And he's straining and he can't pick it up. And this old drunk guy just goes, "You can't pick it up. They're nailed to the floor."
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that shows that stuff's happened a lot. And he's like, "I'm not buying new tables."
Yeah.
No.
When Gotrek turns up and they all just absolutely wet themselves.
Yeah, he's a Trollslayer.
Mm-hmm.
You see a tiny, super broad dude with an orange spiky hair. You're like, no, I'm okay.
It's when Gotrek comes in and they don't really look at him, and he just goes, "It's like, what are you doing to my friend?" It's we're just having some fun. "Oh, I like your idea of fun." And then they turn around, think I'll have some of my own. And I just love the way that it describes it. They all just instantly lose their fight in the spine. Just, oh God, no. What do we do? Is there anything else that you want to bring up about the story? Something beginning with M, by any chance?
Oh, yeah, Manfred, that was a disappointment. But again, I assume now that this was super predate on Manfred.
I think Manfred von Carsten had been mentioned by this point.
Oh, really? Okay. That early?
Yeah, but I don't think he was like a full-blown character. Because you got to remember, Nagash didn't exist
obviously. Yeah. But obviously, I would imagine Vlad probably had some minor appearance at this point.
I think actually you might be right there. I think it was Vlad that got mentioned, not Manfred. Now I come to think about it.
Yeah, because I know he's older, at least, not only just like thematically, but also, but from a writing standpoint as well.
I think it's worth saying that, when Wolf Riders was originally written, and it hasn't really been changed to fit into this anthology. The big bad of the section was Drachenfels, and you had vampires living in convents and going around Altdorf. Yeah, it's a very different Warhammer world.
Yeah, is Drachenfels mentioned in this one, or is it in Skaven Slayer he's mentioned?
He's mentioned in Skaven Slayer. I think he's actually is mentioned. I know Detrick Sedleff is mentioned in this book. I think he's mentioned in most books, actually. Because he's just this big playwright. What I've always tried to work out is there a big chunk of time between like the Drachenfels book and this original Felix and Gotrek book? Because I get the feeling that Detrick is like Shakespeare is to us now.
Right.
Yeah, there's been at least 100 years since he lived.
Mm-hmm.
Because they always mention his melodramas. How his plays they're good, but they're always a little bit over the top and overborne. Whilst back in Drachenfels, they were very of the time. They were very, they were written to be very current. So it could just be two different authors writing things different ways. But I like to feel that Drachenfels happened about 100 years ago.
That'd be interesting to ask William King about it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the downside to that is it doesn't really work because Karl Franz is in Drachenfels. So
the life of Karl Franz I find it seems to be a difficult one to place because he seems to have always been about.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one to pass out.
It makes sense for Vlad to exist because he's a vampire, but then you get like these human characters who should have been dead long ago, but then they still technically exist. Like, was Karl Franz in the end times?
Yes, he was, and then he was possessed by Sigmar.
It's like, come on now. He's like from he's definitely in third edition. I know.
Oh that. Yeah, he's definitely.
He's been around a long time.
He's in the Conrad books. He's in Drachenfels. So he's been around since 1987.
Yeah.
Since that second edition Warhammer.
That's the problem, I suppose, when you have like an iconic character like Karl Franz and you keep pushing time forward, but you just kind of shrug. It's like the X-Men, I suppose, like with Magneto. Magneto now would be like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh no. But you just have to accept that he was a prisoner of Auschwitz, but he's also old, but he's not like problematic. He's like 60.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you just have to unfortunately kind of let go, and I guess that's the same with Karl Franz as well.
I mean, Magneto's died like 3 times and brought back, so, you don't get Karl Franz turning up in a fucking meteorite, do you?
I don't know. You could do.
Oh, yeah, as long as it's twin-tailed, I suppose.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the next story? Or is anything
Sure.
else? So, Dark Beneath the World. Now, this is, if memory serves me right, this is the last of the 1988 stories.
Is this them heading to Karak 8 Peaks?
Yeah.
They headed a long way down south then.
They really did.
I know this obviously because of Total War Warhammer, but I look at where the Border Princess is, and Karak 8 Peaks is a long march down through really unpleasant Badland territory.
Yeah, and very little happens, weirdly enough.
Yeah. I suppose they're quite lucky. I'm guessing like either the Orc tribes at the time had a war recently, or war recently, so maybe that's why they don't encounter like just massive amounts of them.
Just swarms of them.
Yeah, that's the only, or they're fighting off somewhere, trying to find who's the biggest and the bestest. Because otherwise, they should have been like just ducking and dodging from hundreds of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an odd one, but I suppose it's just storytelling.
It's a setting.
Yeah, it's to get them where they need to be.
Sure.
So, picking up immediately after Wolf Riders, Felix and Gotrek are travelling towards Karak 8 Peaks in search of treasure, which, by the way, was told to them by an old drunken dwarf who was trying to get them out of his bar. Do you remember that little throwaway line?
I do. Is that meant to be Scurry? Scurry?
No, it's it's just an old dwarf who we'll find out about in a little bit. But he owns a bar, which is where he tells them about the treasure of Karak 8 Peaks. But within this one and another short story later on, I can't remember which one it is, you get kind of put it together. He told them this in order to get them out of the bar because he was running out of beer. So on the way, they meet a party of humans under attack from orcs. They intervene and save the survivors. Aldebrand, a zealous fanatic from the Templars of the Fiery Heart, Zorbelik, a sorcerer, and Jules, a Bretonian scout, are all journeying to Karak 8 Peaks on a quest. They decide to travel together and arrive at the settlement built by the dwarves close to the ruined city and ask permission to enter, where they learn what the 3 men are searching for. A magical sword called Kargul, a heirloom of the Order of the Fiery Heart, left in the city during a previous effort to reclaim part of the city by the dwarves from the goblins that infest it. The group are given leave to enter the city, but before they go, a dwarven priestess of Velea warns them that a great evil is stirring in the ruins. The group journey to the depths of the ruined city, battling with goblins, orcs, ogres that now infest their ruined halls. As they go deeper, they are followed by ghostly lights, which reveal themselves eventually to be dwarven ghosts who beg Gotrek to help them. When he asks what happened, they say an ancient and powerful evil has desecrated their tombs and dragged them back from their eternal their eternal rest in the Hall of Ancestors, and that unless it is slain and the tombs re-sanctified, they will never find their way back to death. The group comes to a great treasure room, the very one that Felix and Gotrek have been seeking, and in the pride of place is a great sword. Oh my god, I cannot speak. In pride of place in the middle of the chamber is a great sword, which Aldebrand recognizes as Karagul. However, before he can claim it, a huge creature bursts out and kills him, tearing his head from his shoulders. The creature is a troll, tainted and corrupted by warpstone, and twisted and mutated by the power of chaos. Gotrek realizes that they are in a dwarven tomb, and the troll's presence is the reason why the ghosts are stalking the ruins of Karak 8 Peaks. The group attack, but the troll has the ability to heal, and they can only slow it down. Jules and Zobelik are killed, but not before the sorcerer learns that fire destroys the troll's ability to regenerate. As Gotrek distracts the beast, Felix sets it on fire, and Gotrek can finally kill it. A huge army of goblins arrive, but as Gotrek and Felix consign themselves to dying in battle, the ghosts of the dwarfs form up in a spectral army, attacking the goblins, killing them with ease and causing the survivors to flee. Gotrek says the ghosts have denied him a heroic death, but they reply that his doom is far greater. The ghosts bless him for his deed and disappear, finally at peace. Gotrek ignores the treasure, realizing that it would desecrate the tomb and raise the ghosts again, though Felix does take Karagul in honor of their dead comrades. Leaving the bodies of their companions at rest in the tomb, they seal it and leave Karak 8 Peaks behind. This story is awesome.
Yeah, it's a good one. And we get to see Felix get a sword as well, which is brought up again in Skaven Slayer, which is nice.
Caragul. Oh, yes, Caragul.
Yeah.
Caragul has a point. Caragul has a very cool point. We'll find that one out in 2 books' time. Yeah. What did you think about the 3 humans?
To be honest, I couldn't remember them too much. I remember the most about the fight with the troll.
Yeah.
And being disappointed there was no Skarsnik.
Yeah, no Skarsnik.
Again, this is pre-Skarsnik, I imagine.
Yeah, once again, 1988.
But it was nice to get the feeling of going through. I tell you what, the feeling of them going through Karakake Peaks was. For me, it felt like when the dwarves get to the what's it called in The Hobbit, where Smaug is.
Oh yeah, crikey.
Yeah, that place.
Ah, the Lonely Mountain.
The Lonely Mountain, yeah, that kind of idea. Or when Gimli goes into his brother's hole, or cousin's hole.
I beg your pardon?
You would. In Moria. It kind of that. It gave me that feeling and that kind of imagery in my head, which I was quite happy about. It felt grand and impressive. But is this the first time trolls have been mentioned to have regen abilities? Because I was just like, well, yeah, trolls just do that.
Yeah, I think
trolls regen.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It's taking a rule set that existed in the Warhammer at the time and adding it into the story, which is
it's a good one.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I like the fact that because it's been warpstone to hell and back, it's just healing instantly, and it's got a little gibbering baby head on it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh, it's awful. One of the really cool things about this is Zobelik. He mentions a sorcerer, a different sorcerer, the I was going to say Heidenreich. No.
Heidenreich from WWE.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know where that came from. It mentions Litzenreich, who is one of the characters from the Conrad trilogy.
Oh, okay.
So it ties into what was the big book of Warhammer at the time. I mean, the Conrad trilogy is, it's been forgotten now, but it was basically, that was the book.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was the Warhammer adventure book, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was way before anything else came out. I mean, Conrad was meant to be the big hero of Warhammer for a while. Completely forgotten now. Which is a shame because he's an interesting character if he was ever actually given any answers. For 2.5 books, he's a fascinating look at a character who doesn't know where he came from. And then for the last half of the book, they just ruin that by not answering anything.
Oh.
It annoys me because it's obvious that they were going to try and write a 4th book and never did.
Oh.
And it's so infuriating. Because the Conrad trilogy has so much great stuff in there. And it does nothing. But anyhow, so what did you feel about the way that they described the, I'm going to start that again because my brain just went completely blank. This is what happens when I'm this tired. It's ridiculous. So, what did you feel about how Felix and Gotrek went through? Because Felix keeps having these moments of, oh God, this is terrible. The entire mountain's about to fall on my head. And Gotrek has to deal with the fact that ghosts are telling him that he has to go and, save them.
Yeah, he's not a big fan of the idea of the ancestral spirits, is he?
No.
Which is interesting because, again, I assumed that was just, again, because it's like for, they're a part of one of the legendary lords in Total War Warhammer, so I just kind of looked at it as, this happens with dwarves, shouldn't be a huge surprise. So it's interesting that at least at this stage of when this was being written, it was more of a strange thing for Gotrek to see, I suppose.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't like the idea. Is it the case that he doesn't like take on more stuff that he needs to sort out and he just wants to get his death?
I think it's actually a bit more interesting than that.
You think it's an unsaid kind of stuff about his past?
No, I think he's scared.
Oh, okay. Of what specifically?
Because when they're like talking to him, he's pleading with them. I don't understand. I can't hear you. Be gone. Go away. I still walk among the living. I have no place with you. And that gives you this idea that a lot of the way through these early stories, he's kind of putting up the front of I am here to die. But when things like this happen, when the unknowable kind of happens, he kind of doesn't want it to happen. He wants to back away from it, but he just won't let himself do it.
Because it's more, it's not what he's used to. It's it's not the straightforward. I can kill it. I can hit it with my axe and it'll be dead, or I can get my death, which is what I want. Well, kind of idea.
Look at the relish that he takes attacking the troll, or when the goblins turn up. Yeah, it's the complete opposite of how he's reacting to the ghosts.
It's back to what he knows, I suppose.
Yeah, completely. It's a physical thing that he can hit with his axe. Whilst the ghosts, he really is just like trying to back away from them as best he can. The only reason he's not turning tail and running is he knows that he can't.
That has to be with his past, doesn't it? Because he branded himself a coward, or was branded a coward.
Oh yes.
I think I know that because I'm pretty sure he mentioned that in one of the AOS one, didn't he?
Yeah.
I won't pretend that that's like me figuring that out from this.
So should we move on to the Mark of Slaanesh, or do you have anything else to say about Dark Beneath the World?
Trying to think. No, I think we can move on.
So Mark of Slaanesh picks up immediately after they left Carrick 8 Peaks. So this one was written in the mid-90s.
Oh, okay.
So you've jumped forward about 8 years. And to give it its due, you don't really tell any difference in writing style. Well, that's a lie. There's a massive difference in writing style, because this one's a comedy. I was hoping that you were just going to go, what are you saying? What are you talking about? Because in the middle of this book, the tone veers quite dramatically. So they have left Carrick 8 Peaks and come to a small village at the end of the Drakvold forest. The village is controlled by a gang of vicious thugs who are secretly cultists of Slaanesh, who beat up Felix in a tavern shortly after his arrival. To make matters worse, in a battle with mutants on the road, Gotrek is struck on the head with a slingstone and suffers amnesia.
It's this one.
Yeah, no longer remembering who he is, nor who Felix is, or his quest to find heroic death. Felix takes Gotrek to a local healer called Cryptman, who promises to create a brew to restore Gotrek's mind, providing Felix brings back certain ingredients from the nearby mountains. Narrowly avoiding the Slaaneshi thugs and a roving band of mutants, Felix gathers the ingredients and brings them down to Cryptman. However, the brew has no effect, and Felix attacks Cryptman, accusing the healer of lying to him. In the confusion, Gotrek receives another blow to the head, which restores his memory. With the Slayer restored to his wits, the pair go to the tavern to revenge themselves on the cultists. Cryptman! I just find it really weird that they call the guy Cryptman when there's Inquisitor Cryptman in 40k.
Was this around the same time?
Yep.
Or was... Okay.
Yep.
Very different character, though, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Cryptman also mentions Litzenreich.
Oh, okay.
Because he learnt the art of warpstone manipulation from Litzenreich, who was the master of warpstone. And also only had one hand.
Oh, okay.
Because the other one was left behind when he got crucified.
Oh, no. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Conrad's a real dark book. So what did you think of the Mark of Slaanesh? I hated it, and then I love it.
Why did you hate it?
Because it's such a stupid idea that Gotrek gets hit on the head and forgets who he is.
It's kind of an obvious storytelling thing, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, but it allows them to do some really silly things. I mean, I love the mutants. The moose-headed mutant who's like, I'm not getting near you.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
You're making it look like you're scared and you're ready to fight, but I know full well that dwarf's going to kill us the moment we get near you.
Yeah.
Felix is like, no, come and fight me. I'm ready to die. The moose guy's like, nope, not coming near you.
That was I remember that bit. That was a fun little kind of switch.
Yeah,
I'm not sure with this because it's written. It's like looking back, but it seems kind of obvious that would happen.
Yeah.
It was still nicely executed.
Oh yeah. It's as a payoff to an all right story. I mean, it's got some really funny bits to it. I mean, the bit where the head of the village the noble's son. He's taken all his weird route, and he's had his warp powder pipe, and then he gets the young girl to come up to his flat, and he like throws off his dressing gown, and she goes, "Oh, what do you think of that?" He just says he was less pleased when she looked down and started screaming.
Yeah.
Doesn't explain what it is, like what his mutation is, but yeah,
he might not have had any mutation.
Oh no, there was definitely a mutation in there. But
is it his third nipple?
I think it's something round about the genital area. To be honest, I think there's a little like slashy demon down there just waving, like a pink horror.
It's just a pink horror face instead of a penis.
Yeah, hello.
What if it was another hand?
That could have been.
Yeah.
Or it could have just been like gigantic. It's like
a gigantic hand. Flipping of the bird.
Yeah.
Little snotling coming out.
Oh god, not there, just coming out like he was giving birth to it.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, and of course you got the amazing line from Critman shouting at the befuddled Gotrek, "Don't drink that, that's acid!" Yeah, there's a lot of really good jokes in this one. The story itself, it's nothing. It's literally, there's 3 areas. Yeah, they're in the, they're in the pub. They're in Critman's laboratory. They're on the mountain. That's literally it.
And they're in a field at one point when they get. They have another encounter with the noble's son, like you say, and his 2 mates are idiots as well.
Yeah. And he's just going, "Oh, I wish these 2 would shut up. I want to ask this man. I want to ask Felix where he's seen the girl. I need to know if she's told anybody about what she's seen."
Oh, he pulls another woman, doesn't he? Does Felix?
Oh yeah. So Felix finds another lass.
Yep.
And he starts cuddling up to her, but nothing really happens to that one.
No. She lives.
Yeah. Well, as far as we know, she lives.
Yeah. Well, she lives longer than probably if she came along with Felix.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah. I mean, the story ends with them going off to like basically destroy the town. So who knows? So next up, there's Blood and Darkness. We begin with Gotrek and Felix passing back through the Dragwald forest. They find a young girl named Kat, the sole survivor of a beastman attack on her village, who were led by a Chaos Champion, female Chaos Champion of the Chaos God Khorne, who had mysteriously spared Kat's life. The story then switches to the perspective of the female Chaos Champion, who is named Justine, which is not the name you'd expect from a Chaos Champion.
No.
Who had turned to Chaos after being attacked as a young woman by a nobleman. After many years in the Chaos Wastes, she had returned to take her revenge, destroying the nobleman's castle with her army of beastmen and murdering the entire town. Her army is now taken to raiding nearby villages. However, she has to find and kill Kat in order to become a demon prince and achieve immortality, although she has misgivings as a girl. It's constantly hinted and then finally confirmed later in the story that she is in fact Kat's mother. The story then returns to Gotrek and Felix. After slaying a marauding band of beastmen, the 3 reach another village and warn them of the coming danger. Unfortunately, the Chaos Army learns of their location, and Justine leads her beastmen in an attack on the village to find Kat. The beastmen break the walls, and a vicious battle breaks out between beast and villager. Justine battles Gotrek, who injures her but cannot kill her, as she was gifted by a prophecy that no warrior can kill her in battle. And upon seeing Kat, Justine abandons the attack to pursue the girl. Realizing what the Chaos Champion is after, Felix attacks her in an effort to distract her, but is swiftly overpowered. As Justine tries to break his neck, Kat intervenes and kills Justine with her own sword, thus fulfilling the prophecy and saving Felix. With their leader dead, the beastmen flee, pursued by the villagers, who slaughter them all. Gotrek and Felix leave the village the day after the victory. Though Kat asks to go with them, Felix replies they cannot take her with them, as they are bound for more dangerous places where she won't be safe. Kat accepts this, and they leave, the 3 promising never to forget each other. And they don't.
Why did she appear again?
Oh, Kat's coming back.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised. I didn't think that would happen, to be honest.
It happens.
Okay. Oh, no. The way that you said that is, oh no.
You'll see.
I will, yeah.
You'll find out. So what do you think of Blood and Darkness? Because this feels more like the Warhammer that is, the more modern Warhammer that you kind of know and love.
In terms of setting, yeah. Mm-hmm. In terms of its actual story, it's a bit obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple A to B storyline.
Yeah, and it's like, Kat's her daughter. Obviously.
Yeah, we all knew that was coming.
And Kat's and Justine, the Chaos Warrior. Yeah. It's like, if you don't kill her, she's gonna kill you. It's like, your daughter killed you. I never saw that. It's like, it's the very obvious things. Not very surprising. Still done quite well. I liked her interaction with the Beastmen.
Yeah.
I thought that was nice, and she had to keep up appearances to keep them in check.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way, like, the strongest lead, as far as I remember, for Beastmen, so that kind of works for Chaos as well.
Mm-hmm.
Although he didn't take a huge appearance, the Demon Prince.
Yeah, that's a really...
was quite interesting.
Yeah, the fact he kept calling her beloved.
Yeah.
It's not what you'd expect from a Khornate demon, is it?
No, but it's weird because I don't think it's something that couldn't happen either.
No, absolutely not.
Because he's a Demon Prince, I think they said he was once human, didn't he?
Yeah.
Or didn't they? So it maybe makes sense that they would be, since he's not pure demon, that he would still have, at the very least, memories of what caring and that lot would be, or affection for another.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could have just been used as a manipulation
tactic.
I
think it was a manipulation tactic. I think that the entire beloved thing was Justine's backstory is quite a tragic one, and from the sounds of it, I think he was using that need to be loved to manipulate her into a position where she couldn't win.
That sounds more like a Slaneshi thing to do.
It does. This is why I find it very odd. Because, I mean, you can't read it as being the simplistic, you haven't killed her yet. If you don't kill her, you're going to end up in a world of pain.
Yeah.
Which is the kind of what he's saying. But because you've got all this, like, very fruity language, for want of a better term.
You mean from him?
Yeah.
And
how to do these things and what she has to do and why she has to do them. It kind of doesn't feel full Khornate. But that's not to say that there isn't layers of Khorne. The Demon Prince that she's found is one that's a bit more wordy than most.
Yeah, I suppose that you make a good point. Like, because he's theoretically a Prince of Khorne, he should have just been like, the girl killer. If you don't, she'll kill you.
Yeah.
Like, very straightforward, like, just do it.
Yeah.
Like you say, not fruity language about it. Like, ooh, there's a destiny, no man may slay you, and then Tiny Child goes, I am no man, and she takes off her helmet.
Yeah, aye. Takes off her helmet, gets off Gotrik's shoulders, takes off the overcoat.
Takes off the American football armor.
Yeah. Gets off her stilts.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's even better than being on... Gotrik's on stilts and she's on top of Gotrik.
There we go, yeah, so it's a 6-foot monster. It's actually a cat.
I was thinking that there'd still be more like just 5 foot.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, there's a lot here I like, but you're absolutely right, it's a very, very simple story. But all the stuff with the Demon Prince I find fascinating, and I always find it annoying that he never turns back up again. You never hear from him again because he's such a wonderful character. Yeah, this super seductive way of talking. Yeah. Yes,
again, especially for a Khorne prince, it's so strange that it's even was used. Did he say did he definitely say he was a Prince of Khorne?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I wondered if they just refer to him as a demon prince.
No, it's Khorne that she's constantly making. They've got that giant Khornate cannon.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know that she's with Khorne.
Yeah.
But it was more like specifically, do they use language that suggests he is?
I'm sure they do. Yes.
I'm sure they must have, but I'm trying to find like a crack to be like, oh no, he was actually a Slaneshi one and manipulating her.
I think it's simple as in King's mind at this point, he was still thinking of all chaos as being very Slaneshi.
Yeah,
because he's written a lot of Slanesh. Yeah, every time they've come across chaos itself, it's been very Slaneshi.
It's true.
So I think that's what where it comes from. It's the longest story in the book as well.
Ah, isn't it the last one?
No, there's 2 more to go.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
And so these are the ones that are written for Inferno.
Ah, yeah, that would make sense why it's the longer one then.
And then
I think it definitely helps because although, like we said, it's not the most interesting story. It's executed well.
Oh, very well, very very well. And there's a lot of stuff in there I like. As I say, I like Justine.
Yeah,
I think she's an interesting character, and it's a nice way to see how the steps to damnation happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It was interesting that the Beastmen took her in as well.
Yeah, very much so. Just seeing that level
That's probably wouldn't happen in later on in later editions of Warhammer. I don't think that would have been the case. The Beastmen are not that kind.
Well, it depends on what the Chaos Powers told them to do.
That's true. Yeah.
So we'll move on to the Mutant Master. We arrive at Blutdorf on our way to Nuln, where Felix and Gotrek learn the villagers are being held to ransom by a sorcerer in a nearby castle who's abducted their children. However, out of fear, the villagers decide to drink the pair's drugs. Sorry?
Hang on. There's no way what...
It's the joke. It's you drink our drugs. And then Felix falls over. And they hand them over to the sorcerer. The pair wake up in chains, and the sorcerer reveals himself to them, and Felix recognizes him as Albrecht Kruger, a fellow student from his days at the University of Altdorf. Kruger disappeared after stealing forbidden texts, and on mutations. He has now become a megalomaniac. Kruger's now a full egotist, arrogantly explaining that he plans to use the knowledge in the texts to create an army of mutants in which to conquer the Empire. However, the pair break free of their captivity and fight back. Kruger sends Oleg, the most powerful of his mutated soldiers, to kill them, and Gotrek simply strangles the mutant with the chains he was bound with. Kruger tries to make his escape, but Gotrek and Felix pursue, cutting their way through a horde of mutants that Kruger sends at them. They corner him in his study, where he explains that the mutants they were killed were in fact the children of the village. Kruger, having discovered children, were much easier to mutate than adults. In a burst of uncharacteristic fury, Felix seizes Kruger by the throat and throws him from the window.
Yeah!
An act that meets with Gotrek's approval. They then set light to the castle and leave for the village to settle a score. Andy, what do you think of the Mutant Master?
It was okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay.
Nice ending. I really like the ending to this one.
I definitely appreciate him throwing the dude out the window.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm pretty sure while I was walking, listening to this, I put my hands up and went, yeah!
I think Felix is in the right on that one.
Yeah. It's also nice that Gotrek is just very nonchalant about it. It's like, oh, that's a good choice there, Madling.
It's a shame he didn't say good throw. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a good line to go with.
So I like the sequence where they're hanging from the wall, and basically Gotrek is standing on the wall, pulling the chains.
Yes.
It's like turning purple with the effort. I think that's a really, really good sign.
Or a horrifying image as well, just to see this little tiny dwarf's face going purple.
As he's standing horizontal, staring at the floor.
You could hear Brian Blessed groaning there. At least I could when I was listening to it.
You really could. What do you think of Kruger as a character?
Not a super interesting villain, kind of cartoony.
Very
Skeletor-y.
cartoony. The big green drip hanging out of his nose was an annoyance.
When you say an annoyance, do you mean as a reader, or do you mean for the characters involved?
I mean for the characters involved. It's
yes, okay.
I mean, you can see it being animated like a Cosgrove Hall style, can't you?
Yeah, kinda.
I love Kruger. I think he's great. He's just such a dick.
He's shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna conquer the Empire with my children mutants, and terrible.
Yeah, he's
terrible.
He's obviously just been licking Warpstone so much he's got a bit stupid. You know, he's just ridiculous. But he's I think he's wonderful. It's, as much as he had to die at the end, I kind of wish he hadn't, and he was still like just in the background using these like stupid petty little plans. The after effects of them are horrible to anybody that they happen to, but they're just pointless and useless and will never work.
He gave me that feeling of, he's a Buffy reference for you. Do you remember Giles' old friend from school?
Yes!
Him. It gave me that. Ethan something?
Yeah.
Played by the guy who played Shakar in Babylon 5,
yeah.
That guy.
Yeah. I can't remember his name now.
No, it's a different guy?
Shakar was Andreas... Thingy-Bob.
Oh, who's Ethan played by? Because I recognise he's been in things.
He's been in loads. He was in Sharp, actually, as well.
I haven't seen Sharp. I think he's been in Star Trek.
That
guy.
He's been in Babylon 5 as well. He's one of those American actors that just turn up. I can't remember his last name now.
He's one of the American actors who I'd place as almost Shakespearean.
Yeah.
He's like the Patrick Stewart-y kind of style of actor I'd kind of group him with.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a really good bit of casting. There's a show that we'll do at some point. We'll cast, once we've got a few of these done, we'll cast the entirety of the Felix and Gottschalk books.
We'll sell it to Netflix, get a show going.
Yeah, that'll do me nicely.
Yeah.
Should we hit the last story then?
Sure.
This is Ulrich's children. Felix and Gottschalk are heading back through the They're just constantly through the Dracnwald forest in this last bit of the book. Following the tracks of a monster Gottschalk believes to be a troll. The forest is unnaturally quiet, but the wolves that dwell in the forest seem unnaturally active. The pair get separated, and Felix is captured by a group of Imperial soldiers who are actually chaos cultists of
Again.
Sleech.
God damn it.
There's no Nurgle in this book. Felix is bound...
To be fair, you're going to notice if you're a cult member of Nurgle. They're not
True.
the cleanest of people.
I just find it weird that you got two Slaanesh, one Khorne, one Zeech, and no Nurgle.
Do you feel duped?
I do, actually. I feel it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
Felix is bound in chains next to another captive, Magdalena, a beautiful young woman who the cult have captured for their dark purposes. The pair are placed in the dungeons of the cult leader, Count Hrothgar, and and are interrogated by his lieutenant, the sorcerer Vorman. Magdalena explains to Felix that the cult have abducted her to use as bait to trap her father, who is one of the children of Ulrich, a werewolf. Felix manages to escape his captivity and works his way through the manor, killing several of the cultists, including the Count. He discovers that Vorman plans to perform a spell on the werewolf that will transfer his soul into its body, and as he learns this, the werewolf, leading a massive pack of wolves, attacks the manor, easily defeating the cultists. In the main hall, the monster kills Vorman, but not before he completes his spell. As Vorman takes possession of the monster's body, Felix attacks him with a dagger with a blade made of pure warpstone, the only thing that shall harm the beast. He manages to defeat the beast as it dies, and the wolves attacking the manor flee, as a new arrival joins the fight. Gottschalk, who kept on following the tracks until he reached the manor. They capture Magdalena, and although Felix considers her an innocent in the affair, Gottschalk believes she is a shapeshifter, as she is tainted by chaos, and kills her. Felix states in later books that this act still haunts him. The pair then carry on to Nuln. What do you think of Ulrich's children?
Right, I don't like this, but not because it's a bad story, but because this is the last book of Trollslayer.
Yeah.
And it just ends.
It
just ends. They leave the castle, which is on fire and full of wolves killing people, and it just goes, done.
Yep. And the annoying thing is, Ulrich's children,
Mm-hmm.
it was written for Inferno, as was Mutant Master, and it just shouldn't have been the last book. The last story in the book. I wouldn't have minded so much if there had been a
It needed an epilogue.
Yeah.
It desperately needed an epilogue.
Absolutely, I agree there. Yeah,
like whether it was like Felix commenting on they argued about the killing of the girl and why they decided to go to Nuln.
Yeah,
just a few little bits to tie it up.
Yeah, I agree. Because it just, you're absolutely right. It just ends, which is a shame because the story itself is quite an interesting one. It's once again it's A to B, but it's what Will King does, and he does very well. Is simple stories with really good character development. And later on, he starts to experiment a little bit with how to tell a story, which you'll find out from Demon Slayer onwards. But I think this is the beginning of him trying to play around with that idea, because you've got two bad guys basically. You've got the Zeechan cultists and the werewolves.
Are the werewolves bad?
They're not good.
I got that they weren't good, but I didn't really get the feeling that they were bad. It's like if you see a wolf in the forest, I wouldn't consider that evil.
No.
If you know what I mean.
No.
That's the kind of feeling I got from these shapeshifters as well.
I think it's not that they're evil, but they are definitely chaos. They're tainted.
Yeah. Well, are they? Because when they said the children of Ulrich, I kept thinking there are the Ulrich priests and stuff. Yeah, and I wondered if there was how much of a relation there were between those. Or again, is that a concept before its time?
I think it's just because Ulrich is the bestial god of the wilds for humanity.
Okay.
So you have the white wolves of Ulrich. They're knights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So out of all of those, then, which is your favourite story?
Quickly go through them again.
So, Gehemish Knight, Wolf Riders, Dark Beneath the World, The Mark of Slaanesh, Blood of Darkness, Mute Master, and Ulrich's Children.
The one after Wolf Rider, I think.
Dark Beneath the World. That's my favourite as well.
Yeah, I like Dark Beneath the World.
It just does so much really cool stuff. So which is your least favourite?
Probably this one.
Yeah. Ulrich's Children.
And I think it is the problem that it's the last one, and like I say, it just ends.
Yeah.
It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. If not that one, no, I kind of like Mutant Master because it was just a silly one. Mm-hmm. Maybe like you say, the one where he lost his memory.
Yeah.
Maybe that one.
Even though that's really funny.
It is funny, yeah, but like you said, it's just like
Yeah,
it's okay. Like, none of these I would consider, like, bad.
No.
None of them I would say I didn't enjoy them. Actually, my favourite one might have been the Justine the Chaos Warrior one.
All right.
I think that was my favourite one, actually, because I like the Beastman stuff.
Yeah. Them talking about how the Beastman Society works and the...
Yeah, it's a good way to flush them out.
Yeah. So I can't disagree with that one.
Yeah.
Right then, so that is the entirety of Trollslayer. And at some point, I think we will come back and do Skaven Slayer.
Yes, I'm like, if I was to rate this, I'd probably give it like 7 or an 8 out of 10. Skaven Slayer currently, which I haven't finished yet, is like 9 or 10.
Yeah,
easily.
And God, they get so much better.
Yeah.
And they keep getting better until Orc Slayer, which is a weird dip. And it's not that it's a bad book; it just changes tone massively.
Okay.
It goes a very different path.
Does it go grimdark?
In a way, yes. Actually, that's a.
Oh no.
Yeah, but it's an odd one. Orc Slayer is an odd one. It's especially when you kind of get to what is going on there, because it's not as cut and paste as the ones leading up to it have been. There's a lot more intrigue to it.
Okay.
So I don't think it's a bad book. I just think you got all this momentum, but then it just kind of goes, and now this. Oh.
Does it almost feel like a filler?
No, it just feels like you can tell that it changes authors. I think it's
right.
That's the best way I can put it. I think you can tell that Nathan Long takes over, and it becomes a very different series. But in its due, it then builds up to be something absolutely incredible.
So it's more like he's I'm guessing that's his first one.
Yeah.
So he's finding his feet.
Very much so. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That's fair enough then.
Yeah. Right then. So Andy, would you like to give a bit of a pimping and see where people can find you if they so wish to do so?
Sure, let me pop this pimple. You can find me on and the ooziness that is my social media presence. You can find me on Twitter, CCTFW, on YouTube as Cobra Commander TFW. You can find my podcast, which is the Moonbase 2 podcast, where me and my buddy Mikey talk about Transformer things each week. And we've got a Patreon page, and you can find Moonbase 2 fairly easily, Moonbase 2 Transformers podcast. That'll do. That's good enough.
Excellent stuff. And as always, thank you very much for coming in. I look forward to getting through some more books with you and other ideas that we've got in the works.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yes. Some stupidity coming in a not too distant future.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
All right then, everybody. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you later.
Bye-bye.
I'm horny, short for the Horn Reaper. I'm drunk with the Dungeon Keeper. Unbelievers better take a step back, because I set traps that'll leave your neck snap. Forget a pimp slap, switch up the syntax. Take away the PC, I'll deliver in slaps. There's a slim chance that you've ever seen an enemy with melanin as red as this and menace in his skin rash. Better bring your shit back, because when I switch axes, doesn't equal me from medicine and fit. Horny, short for the Horn Reaper. I'm drunk with the Dungeon Keeper. Horny, short for the Horn Reaper. I'm drunk with the Dungeon Keeper. Ought to have taken a tad more care with your fortification, 'cause battle for the